There's a city inside New York City that most people have never seen. No signs. No walls. No gates. But make no mistake, there is a world here, and it operates by completely different rules than anything you've ever seen in America. We're not talking about a cultural neighborhood where people hang flags and sell food from back home. We're talking about a fully functioning, self-contained civilization, with its own rabbinical courts, its own economy, its own schools, its own media, its own language, operating right in the middle of the most photographed, most visited, most watched city on earth. And somehow, almost nobody talks about it. The people who live here aren't hiding from you out of fear. They're not hiding at all, actually. They're just living. On their terms. By their rules. According to a way of life that is centuries old and hasn't bent, not for modernity, not for social media, not for America itself. We're talking about New York's Hasidic Jewish communities. And before you click away thinking you already know this story, what gets shown online, what gets turned into Netflix documentaries, what gets debated across the internet, that's the argument about them. That's not them. What gets covered about this community is almost always about the controversy surrounding it. This is about something else, what the life inside actually looks like. This is what it actually looks like inside. The neighborhoods. The daily rhythm. The children running through streets that feel like they belong to a different century. The men studied sacred texts at 2 in the morning and negotiated deals at 6. The women building businesses, raising families, and holding entire communities together in ways that almost nobody on the outside ever sees. Brooklyn, New York. Williamsburg. Borough Park. Crown Heights. These aren't just zip codes. These are worlds. Brooklyn is 40 minutes from Midtown Manhattan. In some ways, it's centuries away. Let's go. To understand what you're looking at when you walk through Williamsburg or Borough Park, you have to go back. Way back. Not to Brooklyn. Not even to America. You have to go to 18th century Eastern Europe. That's where Hasidic Judaism was born, in the forests and shtetls of Ukraine, Poland, and Belarus. A spiritual movement that pushed back against cold, intellectual religion. God isn't just in the study hall. God is in joy. In the dance. In the meal shared with family on a Friday night. In the way you tie your shoes in the morning with intention. The founder, a man known as the Baal Shem Tov, which roughly translates to Master of the Good Name, didn't build a temple. He built a feeling. A way of living where every single moment, no matter how small, was considered sacred. And that philosophy survived everything. It survived pogroms. It survived poverty. It survived the Holocaust, which came horrifyingly close to erasing it entirely. And then, remarkably, it rebuilt itself. Right here. In New York City. Today, New York is home to one of the largest, many say the largest, Hasidic Jewish populations outside of Israel. Over 200,000 people, some estimates push closer to 300,000, living in tightly knit neighborhoods that are, in every meaningful sense, functioning cities within a city. Walk into Williamsburg on a weekday morning and your senses recalibrate immediately. The storefronts are in Yiddish. Not Hebrew, Yiddish. A language that most of the world assumed was dying, that linguists were eulogizing decades ago, alive here. On signs. In conversations. In the voices of children arguing over something on the sidewalk. The streets are full. The men in long black coats and wide-brimmed hats regardless of the summer heat. The women in modest dresses pushing strollers. The boys in white shirts, their tzitzit, the fringed garments, swinging as they run. They move with the energy of people who are exactly where they're supposed to be. This isn't preservation. This isn't nostalgia. This is a living, expanding civilization that has decided, deliberately, consciously, generationally, that the outside world does not get to define them. And that decision has consequences. Beautiful ones. Complicated ones. Both. If you're watching this story, hit the like button so YouTube understands you want the next chapter unlocked. And tell me in the comments, which beautiful country are you watching from? And what's the exact time there right now? Let's talk about what a Tuesday actually looks like in Borough Park. The day starts before most of New York is even conscious. By 5 in the morning, the lights are on in the study houses, the Beit Midrash. Men bent over ancient texts, debating passages written 1,000 years ago like the argument started yesterday. This isn't performance. This isn't an obligation in the way most people understand obligation. This is the center of the day. Everything else gets built around it. By 7, the streets are alive. School-age children moving toward yeshivas, boys and girls educated separately, where the curriculum looks nothing like what's happening 20 blocks away in a public school. Talmud, Torah, Jewish law, Hebrew, Yiddish. Some schools introduce secular subjects. Some don't. That tension, we'll get to it. Now here's the part that surprises most outsiders. This community is economic. Borough Park and Williamsburg are not impoverished enclaves frozen in time. They are home to thriving diamond merchants, real estate developers, garment industry operators, wholesale distributors, and a tech sector that most people never see coming. Hasidic-owned businesses generate billions, with AB, in revenue annually in New York alone. The Diamond District on 47th Street in Midtown Manhattan. Significantly shaped by Hasidic Jewish merchants. The handshake deal, a transaction sealed on trust and religious obligation rather than a signed contract, is still standard practice. In an industry built on some of the most valuable physical objects on earth. And then Friday comes. Everything stops. As sundown approaches, the energy in these neighborhoods shifts in a way that is genuinely hard to describe if you haven't witnessed it. Stores close. The streets are quiet. Families gather. The Shabbat, the Jewish Sabbath, begins, and from Friday's sundown to Saturday night, the community essentially unplugs from the modern world. No phones. No electricity intentionally switched. No driving. No transactions. In the middle of New York City, there is a community that stops, every single week. Not because they have to. Because they want to. Because rest, in this tradition, is not laziness. Rest is resistance. Rest is sacred. And the food on that table Friday night, the challah bread, the slow-cooked cholent, the roasted chicken, the honey cake, that's not just dinner. That's a civilization saying, we're still here. Here's what nobody tells you about this community. The people who leave, and some do leave, don't leave because life was empty. Most of them will tell you, in their own words, that it was full. Fuller than anything they found on the outside. The struggle isn't usually about belief. It's about belonging. Because in a world built this tightly, this intentionally, this completely, leaving doesn't just mean changing your lifestyle. It means losing your family. Your friends. Your language. Your entire frame of reference for what life is supposed to feel like. And here's what's equally true, the people who stay aren't staying out of fear or ignorance of the outside world. Many of them know exactly what's out there. They've seen it. They've considered it. And they chose this. Deliberately. Consciously. Generationally, just like their grandparents did, and their grandparents before them. A woman named Rivki, not her real name, grew up in Borough Park, left in her 20s, and spent years building what the outside world would call a successful life. Career. Independence. And she'll tell you that the Friday nights were the hardest part. Not because she missed religion. Because she missed the table. The specific, irreplaceable feeling of 20 people crowded into a kitchen that was too small, arguing about something that didn't matter, with food that took 3 days to make. You can leave a community. You cannot always leave what it made you feel. This community is growing. While mainstream American Jewish identity has seen declining birth rates and rising assimilation, Hasidic communities are expanding at a rate that demographers describe as extraordinary. The average Hasidic family has between 5 and 8 children. Some have more. In Borough Park alone, the population has grown so significantly that the community has begun reshaping the demographic map of Brooklyn in real time. Within 2 generations, researchers project that Hasidic Jews could represent the majority of Jewish Americans. The community the outside world has treated as a relic, quietly, deliberately, joyfully becoming the future. They were never frozen in time. They were always moving forward. Just on their own terms. And maybe, just maybe, that's the most American thing about them. If this changed the way you see something, even just a little, I want to know what it was. Hit subscribe, press the bell icon and drop it in the comments. Seriously. What surprised you most about this community? Was it the economy? Shabbat? The fact that a language the world declared dead is being spoken by children on a Brooklyn sidewalk right now?